Figure I'll make myself a chickpea sandwich, so I'm putting this bread here into the toaster. This is and you'll see the cat. Hi Rosie. She wants to go outside. So this is chickpea. The chickpea mix that I made yesterday for breakfast. So I thought I'd go and make some hot chocolate as So what does vegan hot chocolate look like? Sugar, almond breeze. I usually use coffee creamer, like coffee creamer. But this is almond milk coffee creamer. And then I found Cadbury drinking chocolate here, which happens to be vegan. I can't find the ingredients. It says may contain milk, but I checked the ingredients. It's basically just sugar, cocoa powder, acidity regulator, and that's it in there. And I usually also put a little bit of salt, just a tiny little bit, to make the sugar, so I don't have to put in tons of sugar. These are like extra stuff I put in there to boost the flavor. So this is just me. I usually do a cap full of this. And my name is Nikki, and this is the Pink Raven, my YouTube channel. I call it the Pink Raven right sometimes because I have two YouTube channels. This one is exclusively for my writing, while I have another one that just talks about my life, what I'm doing, and focuses on social and religious issues that, interest me. So I promised I'll do a follow-up from my last YouTube video. And that follow-up was really just to highlight 2 points to get you guys started in your writing process. So let's get started. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first 2 tips that I wanted to share a little bit. So I have my computer right in front of me, and I was wearing glasses in the last video, but it had a glare that was, I don't think it was nice. So you might see me put my glasses on, but for the most part, I'll try to keep it off. Anyway, the first 2 tips, or the 2 tips that I kind of wanted to share to help you guys was, number 1, keeping a writing journal, which has helped me with this book here that you could see. I hope I pointed to this book here that you could see at the back, The Bloodlust Power. It helped me with that book, and it also helped me with the second book, which is The Ruby Insignia. So I kept a writing journal, and I'm saying writing journal, but what that really means is that I had this notebook that I would walk with all the time, and anytime inspiration would hit me, I'd just write. And sometimes I'd write like 3 pages of handwritten notes. And the reason why I'm encouraging you guys to do that is because the writing journal helped me to basically just zone into writing, so I didn't have that distraction around me. I know a lot of people write a lot of the scenes or things that come to them on their phone, but usually sometimes that could be a distraction. Sometimes you write in and then like a notification comes in, and then you have to check it, and then that's out the door. So a writing journal is my first tip, and then my second tip is to redraft or rewrite. And the reason why I would encourage you to do that is because in the beginning I was very afraid to rewrite the book, in a sense that what I mean to say is that I'd write the book completely and then try to, edit it and do developmental edits and stuff like that. And I had a hard time cutting out scenes. I had a hard time, admitting that certain things just didn't work with the book. So when I started looking up some YouTube videos for advice, I started to realize that one of the things that I wasn't doing that I needed to do was to redraft or rewrite the book completely. So that caused me to pull The Bloodlust Power straight off of Amazon. So I had to unpublish it and then rewrite the entire thing so that it could flow with the second book, and so that the second book could flow with it as well. So my second tip is to not be afraid to redraft. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you guys just a few things that I do to help me with the redrafting process. So the first thing that I would do is, like I said in the last video, is I would completely write the entire book as a zero draft, and then I would open up a new document, usually a Microsoft Word document. Because I'm now working on Scrivener, what I do is write everything in Scrivener, and then I perhaps may write everything in Scrivener, transfer it to Microsoft Word, and then rewrite it on Microsoft Word, which I think I'll do for this fourth book because I'm currently working on it in Scrivener. So tip number one is to write the entire thing. Don't let anything distract you. Just write it from start to finish. Take breaks if you need to. So breaks could be like if you have a day of writing and say you're going to delegate like a few hours to writing the book. Let's say 2 hours, you're going to spend 2 hours writing this book. You could take breaks within that 2 hours. So you could say the first 30 minutes I'll do a writing sprint, I'll take a 5-minute break, and then I'll do another writing sprint and take another break. So you could do breaks like that. And you can also do breaks where you just, take a break from writing completely. You take like a whole week, a month, for some people 6 months, maybe a year, I don't know. Take a whole break from writing where you focus more on reading new material to give you more inspiration. And during those breaks, you could take your writing journals with you, because that's what I would do. Sometimes I'd have like large breaks of writing where I wouldn't be around a computer typing and trying to write stuff, but then I'll have my writing journal so that in case inspiration hits me, I could just write it in the journal and not have to worry about going to the computer. And sometimes it's not scenes that flow, but it's like things that I could now transfer to the computer, because I might have an idea for this character, or I might have a setting that I would want to put into the book, and I'll have that I'll write that down in my journal, and then the next time I got my computer, I would transfer it there. The other thing I would encourage you to think about doing is, when you actually finish the entire writing process and you're going to rewrite in a brand new document. Don't rewrite in that first initial draft that you did, because I usually like to keep my drafts. So rewrite in a brand new document, and that way what you can do is, when you're cutting scenes out or adding new scenes, you could not worry about losing it because you have it in a different document, the original thing in a different document. And the next thing that you can do is, if it still hurts you to like delete an entire scene, you could open up a document, copy or cut and paste the scene that you don't need into the new document, and that way it would feel less hard on you. you for, you know, cutting out an entire scene. On top of those two major tips that I wanted to share, I also wanted to share 5 smaller tips that could help you in your writing process. So I'm going to just put my glasses on quickly so that I could actually see my computer screen. And I'm so sorry about the glare. I'll try to take it off as soon as I'm finished reading the screen. So the first thing that I have, tip number 1, is to have a working title for your book. Now this working title is not the official title, it's just a title to help you understand what your book is all about. Okay, so I realized I've been filming without my microphone, so I just plugged that in. Let's go on to it. So tip number 1 was to have a working title for your book. Tip number 2 is to get to know your book POV. So one of the things I struggle a lot with is that when I'm writing, I usually can't understand, or maybe not understand wouldn't be the best word, but usually what would happen is I struggle to figure out which POV to write from. So the first book that I've ever written for the Kingdoms of Yah series, which is the 3rd book that I'm currently writing, was written in first person, mainly because I thought of writing the entire book from Ishmael's perspective. When I had finished writing that book and I shelved it, I went into the Bloodlust Power and I was trying to figure out what POV I wanted to write from. And then when I realized that I had more than one main character whose voice needed to be heard, I realized the best way to write that was in 3rd person POV, 3rd person close POV. And then what I decided to do was split each character's POV into scenes. Now, most people would split it into chapters, but because I'm splitting chapters based on time and setting, I didn't want to do a split chapter for like one POV would have one chapter and the next POV would have a next chapter, because a lot of the events were occurring in the same day or in the same area, but they were being told from different POVs because another character might have a better perspective for it. The opening chapter of the Bloodlust Power, Yuji's POV comes first. It's the opening POV, and the reason why I did that, because he is one of the main characters for the Bloodlust Power. So Yuji opens up the book in his POV, and it was best for me to use his POV for the opening of the book because he, in my book, is the head reaper, or he's a hell of death. So that's on the Connex title for the head reaper. And because Kyrie was asking him to basically put some reapers on like a council, it's basically like a jury, but not really a jury, to discuss what was going on in the different kingdoms, it was best to be told for Yuji's POV. However, in the same exact chapter, Brai wanted to have a conversation with Kyrie, and obviously the readers would want to know what sort of conversation that would be about. And since it's the same setting and it's the same time, I had to switch into Kyrie's POV because it was a private meeting and obviously Yuji wouldn't know anything about what's being said. I didn't want to split it as a chapter because the next chapter would have represented for my book the next day. I know I'm spending long on POVs, but it's very important. All right, so that was POV. So basically, to wrap up everything, is know what POV you want to write your book in. And that might mean that you'd have to write several chapters in several different POVs just to get a perspective of what suits your book best. But knowing your POV would help you to, focus on what exactly the story would be about. The third tip that I have to share is understanding your target audience. And understanding your target audience basically is helping you to figure out what genre you actually want to shelf or categorize your book in. So for example, and then also before I get into the example, your book could fall under many different genres, so you don't have to worry about having to stick to one genre, but knowing what genre your book is would help. So an example, as I was saying, is Twilight. Twilight could be classified as paranormal and romance and YA. And because its classification falls under these three different things, there are three different target audiences that would read Twilight. There is also the target audience who falls in all three of these categories who would also read Twilight. So understanding your target audience can help. The last two, the fourth tip is get to know your main character. So that would fall with your POV. So you'd want to know who you're telling the story from, whose perspective you're telling the story from. And then when you figure out that, you could kind of figure out if that person is a main character or not. When you figure out who your main character is, you would want to get to know your main character and how your main character would basically act in a situation, because the book is all about how your main character acts during a situation. So you'd have to definitely get to know your main character. And the fifth tip here is to figure out your book's theme. Now, the theme and genre of your book are two different things. So the theme for Hunger Games would be power, politics, basically the theme covers like all the little stories or morals that Hunger Games want to bring across. So it's a dystopian world, and it's all about the rebellion, all about overthrowing the capital and bringing freedom and equality to all the districts. So that's a theme of the Hunger Games, and you could see that's different from the basic genre, which is dystopian, because a dystopian book doesn't necessarily have to talk about overthrowing, the government or anything like that. So you have to figure out the theme of your book, and then once you figure out the theme of your book, you could now have a good idea of where you're going in your writing journey. Okay, so I will spend the rest of this YouTube series. It's not, sometimes I'll put other things in, but the rest of this YouTube series, which I'll be titling Plotting and Planning, Writing KOY from Start to Finish. So yeah, you see the name of it in the actual title of the YouTube video. So it would be Writing Kingdoms of Ya from start to finish, where you guys could follow me through the very beginning process to the end process. At the end, I'll show you guys how I make the book covers. I think with the making of the book cover though, it might be a little bit difficult because I already made all 5 book covers, and I don't want to give away the name of the books. So I'll perhaps show you guys or go through like a step-by-step process of what I did to make book 1, book 2, and book 3. So look out for that video, as well as some more me doing writing sprints, and I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video. So bye.